Hello, passengers, and welcome aboard the TV Pilot's License with service to LA and the Murtaugh household. We ask that you please fasten your headphones, secure your podcasting device, and remember that if you do in fact feel like you are too old for the exit row, or this shit, we ask that you notify your flight attendant so you can be reseated.
Welcome to the TV Pilot's License. My name is Geoff Kerbis, joined by Rich Inman and Max Singer. How you boys doing today?
Oh, I'm so good. I actually got us a guest for this episode. He's a writer, he's a producer, he's a member of the President's Special Ambassadorship to Hollywood.
Oh, no.
Rich, how are you?
Oh, okay. All right. So Jeff already burned his, so we all each get one I'm too old for this shit joke.
Wait till you see our in-flight question, because we're going to get more than one.
Man.
But
all right, I'm saving it for that.
Gentlemen, this week we are talking about Lethal Weapon, the TV show. We are not transitioning to movies, not yet. So
April
I'm really
Fools.
excited. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this. This is going to get weird really quickly. But before we get weird, Max, can you tell folks who might be here for the first time or a frequent flyer what this podcast is all about?
Wait, TV show? I have all these notes on Gary Busey for this episode. Here at TV Pilot's License, we break down and analyze the pilot episodes of some of TV's most famous, or in some cases, infamous shows. We learn more about how these shows came to be and were originally made, if they're effective pilot episodes and making us want to watch more, if they can be made today. Go back and stream our old episodes from wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok to see our smiling faces. And if it is your first time flying with us, then welcome aboard.
And Rich, what is your question of the week?
Well, I think this pilot examines a lot of the human condition after PTSD, dealing with self-medication and things of that nature. So I want to know, if you guys had a sandwich named after you at a diner, what would it be? What would this would be?
Oh my God. Well, Rich, I will kick us off because I think I've had a little bit more time than Max to think about this. We're starting off with just good old challah bread. I like non-toasted, because if you toast challah, it gets dry, and that's
Ooh.
yucky. So then from there, you're going to add a little bit of Russian dressing. You're going to add a little bit of Swiss cheese. It's going to sound a lot like a turkey Reuben, because the only difference is the challah bread. But I'm adding in one last little bit, and I want you to add in some grilled onions on there that have been slowly sautéed to add a little bit of that sweet bite. But yeah, that is the Jeff with the
That's a
G.
lethal weapon.
Max, what about yourself?
All right, I'm going with a very illustrious tuna sandwich.
Ooh.
We're getting a little bit of olive oil in there. We're adding some really nice balsamic, some diced red onions. Like Jeff, I am going to go with challah as my vessel of choice. I think it's just it's a really nice pillowy texture. I have a vendetta against brioche, so we're getting those buns out of here to begin with. But yeah, just a very elevated tuna sandwich, big pickle spear on the side, maybe some chips to round everything out.
Oh, really, really impressed that you withheld the Jimmy Buffett big kosher pickle line on that.
Personally, I think we need more braided breads. I am here to say we need more braided breads available in bakeries. It doesn't even need to be challah. Give me a braided raisin bread, or maybe even a braided rye, and I'm going to have a goddamn good
Braided
time.
rye.
Give me a braided rye. Give me more braided
The most
rye.
dense
Jeff,
bite you've ever had in your life.
I dare you to put your sandwich pick on a braided raisin.
Oh, it's like biting into Scottish Pete. If you,
Max, if I
braided
put
rye.
that sandwich on a raisin bread, I'm not getting invited to the cookout ever again.
Do you ever want to do the cursed bagel order and get the chocolate chip or the French toast with your lox?
Every time I see that, and then whenever I hear that, they're we sold out of the chocolate chip bagels. I'm
Ow.
like, what? Did a team or a class of fifth graders all come through your bagel
It
shop at the
feels
same time?
anti-Semitic, I'm just saying.
Rich,
shit.
I am curious, what is your deli order sandwich?
Yeah, so the Rich Inman is clearly on some rye bread, some really nice firm rye bread. Then we're going some thick cut turkey. I want some turkey on there. I'm also going a little bit of fried mozzarella as my cheese.
Ooh, there's that rich flavor I was looking for.
I want something that stretches. I want something that melts. Maybe a little bit of the grilled onions and the Russian dressing too. That sounds pretty bomb. Maybe a little coleslaw. Who knows? I want some crunchy. I want some stretchy. And yeah, order the rich Inman today.
Well, Rich, thank you so much for your wonderful sandwich order. Let's talk a little bit more about Lethal Weapon. And we're going to start off with a synopsis before we do so. A slightly unhinged former Navy SEAL lands a job as a police officer in Los Angeles, where he's partnered with a veteran detective trying to maintain a low stress level in his life. Which, yes, there's more.
Good luck.
Oh my goodness!
It's reverse crank.
Is there more that happens in this pilot, even in the first 5 minutes? But before we talk about that, before we talk more about Lethal Weapon, Max, can you tell us a little bit more about how it got made?
Today, we are talking about the pilot episode of Lethal Weapon, which originally aired on September 21st, 2016 on Fox. We're talking about the show's writer and creator a bit, Matthew Miller, today. Best known as one of the writers and executive producers of Chuck, Miller has also worked on shows including Forever, Park 666, and Las Vegas. Lethal Weapon was first announced as a show in October 2015. The show is, of course, a remake of the 1987 action classic of the same name, written by Shane Black and directed by Richard Donner. Today's pilot features Clyde Crawford and Daymon Wayans in the roles made famous by Mel Gibson and Danny Glover. Developed by Warner Brothers TV, with Warner Brothers having originally produced Lethal Weapon, the show courted multiple bidders, with Fox winning out over NBC. Miller was hired by the network to pen the pilot script. With a hefty pilot commitment, Fox enlists director Mick G to take the reins, and the show is picked up to a full series order in May of 2016, with an 18-episode slate announced just after the show's premiere. And that's all I could find about Lethal Weapon until 2 years later, which, Jeff, I think you'll cover later.
Yeah, we're going to talk about what happened 2 years later because, Rich, I'm going to hold you in suspense the entire time.
Is it the pandemic? No, it's not the pandemic.
Nope, something even crazier. But
crazier than a global pandemic?
You know what's even crazier than what happened 2 years after? The cold open of this show. Because holy shit, does this show start off with a bang. We're starting off on a high-speed car chase through El Paso, Texas with a sniper shot, as well as what I can only say is if you don't like buses or large vehicles, boy, is this not the pilot for you.
or it is because we blow them all up.
Yeah, so I have to ask you two. This pilot gives us the background that I don't think I needed from the original movies. And what did you think of Riggs's cold open / background?
Holy shit. This pilot takes one of the hardest left turns that we have covered on this show. Because, yes, it is Mick G of Charlie's Angels fame. The first thing you see is a machine gun shootout on the back of a pickup truck, baby.
That's right.
You see snipers, you see crazy shit going on. You get some of that classic McG humor of like, oh, this is a brand new jacket. My wife's going to kill me. No one talks like that in this pilot. I apologize to all people involved. And then I don't want to say like the fun gets sucked out of it.
Yeah, I would say it does. Jeff, it looks like you're about to give some exposition here. But not before I just commend them for dropping some Marshall Tucker band on us in the first 2 minutes.
I am. So as far as, let's just talk about what happens. We see a woman, in my notes, I just have, don't drive yourself to the hospital if you are in labor right now. And this is sort of a sign of like, hey, there's a very traumatic death that happens within the first 5 minutes of this pilot, and very much sets the tone. But what's interesting is, Max, as you sort of referenced, it is such a hard pivot from where we just were. We saw a 500-yard sniper rifle shot to sort of establish that Riggs is like a really good armsman. And then from there, it's just like, And then what if the woman that he loved the most got hit by a semi-trailer or a
Yeah.
semi-truck on her way to the hospital to give birth to their child? And then you get to see a man find out that he is completely alone.
And that is a detail from the 1987 movie. Like, Riggs's wife is killed in a car accident, and that's what drives him into, you know, becoming the character that he is. But it's exposition, it's given circumstances that make the character of Riggs. We don't see that in Lethal Weapon, and I think what they're trying to do is to create more of like an emotional stake for the audience to be like, you want to tune in each week because we've just set the bar so high to draw you in. Did it work for you guys?
So
I felt sad. Does that work?
yeah, I think that one of the interesting parts is when I think of the problem with IP movies being turned into TV shows is if you are familiar with the IP, there's a certain tone that you are familiar with, and there are certain themes that you're familiar with. The Lethal Weapon movies don't really touch sad that often. They touch a lot of comedy, a lot of action, some international politics in some situations, but they don't talk about sad things often. And this was a lot of sad. But I'm here to say, and I think we can all say, Max, pivots are one thing that this show does all of the goddamn time.
Oh, yeah.
And I personally would like to thank Mitch McConnell for this TV show because if we had affordable health care worldwide or nationwide, she would have never been hit by that semi-truck, and we would have never had a story. So thank you so much, Mitch, for striking down the public option.
So let's talk a little bit more about how we are introduced and brought into this world. We are then just told we've gone different states. We've gone from Texas to California. We are now 6 months later, and we're introduced to Roger Murtaugh, who is played by Daymon Wayans in this role. And I knew Daymon Wayans was in the show. I was so happy to see Daymon Wayans in the show because just the perfect level of comedy, timing, being able to be taken serious, because Daymon at this point was in his late 50s when he was filming this. And it's that certain level of like, I am funny, but I'm able to also carry these lines, and like there's a little bit of weight behind it. But also, to Keisha Sharp's credit, absolutely killed it as Trish.
Nailed
I think
it.
that you don't have a really good Roger Murtaugh if you don't have a good Trish in this situation. And their first scene, I was like, okay, cool, this is really fun. This is exactly what I want this relationship to be. Max, what about yourself?
Well, I think David Wade's... well, there's a fun little fact that this is kind of a Shane Black reunion for him, even though Black just has story credits on this palette because Wayne started The Last Boy Scout in the early 90s, one of Black's big hits at that point. Do I think that he is Danny Glover? No, I don't think he's tried to be. I think he has his own fun spin on it. I think he applies a good amount of like affable network TV humor to this. I was a little distracted by the fact that we come out of Riggs's wife's death, meet Murtaugh through what's a great way to relieve some stress? If you gave me a blowjob right now. And like, when you talk about we pivot left and right, we pivot left and right, buddy, in this show. Cause I was taken aback with how horny and like how grown up horny this show got after we just saw a man sobbing on the floor of a hospital.
So horny, but sad and realistic horny.
Yeah, no, you know, sometimes you deal with trauma and stress with a blowjob, and that is the joke that they chose to do for the audience.
I don't know why this particular scene in getting to know Murtaugh made me laugh, but when he's getting ready to go back to work that morning and he's getting ready in the bathroom, there's a fogged up mirror and he just kind of wipes it in a circle with his hand and we see his reflection staring back at him and he's looking really serious. And that made me chuckle so hard. It's such a goofy getting ready montage choice to make. I loved it.
This show sometimes this show chooses the obvious choice, and I think that I say that
Sometimes.
almost as a compliment in this instance, because like during this whole scene where we see Murtaugh, he's older, he's trying to deal with stress, and he's trying to live this like relaxed suburb life in this beautiful mansion in LA that I don't know how he affords on a cop's salary. And all the while we're getting flashes of seeing what Riggs's life is like, living in a trailer on the beach, playing Russian roulette, it appears, or thinking about playing Russian roulette. And this is one of the interesting things that I wanted to bring up.
It's a solo player.
Yeah. I wanted to bring up with you two, what did you think of the choice of mirroring the Lethal Weapon movie so closely for some of these scenes, and for others just going wildly off like the deep end and being like, there was a Lethal Weapon movie, we just decided to make 911 but make it even crazier.
Yeah, I think if they were just gonna remake the movie, then do that. Like, if you want to mirror it, have your nods, have your like, oh, this is what it would look like, but everything's in 2015 now. Like, but for a TV show, I couldn't shake the feeling of, I like this, but why was this made? You know, almost the entire time. So I think that's what plays into it. It's like there's the nods and everything, but there's just like not enough that says, why are we here right now?
Max, what about you?
Yeah, it's this weird line of, it does things just close enough to feel like it's doing Lethal Weapon without like the Gary Busey of it all, or saying like the most obvious line they could have thrown into the pilot. But even and we'll get to this, but stuff like our main case of the week being about drug smuggling and things like that, and how that impacts, like that's Lethal Weapon from '87. And I don't know if there's enough separation for me to totally like disconnect from the original property. Like there's a version of this where you just call it Lethal Weapon, and it's Riggs and Murtaugh, and it's this unlikely buddy cop situation, and you do case of the week, but you disconnect more that could be there. But yeah, I don't know. It feels like it was trying really hard to toe that line, but often steered into, we're doing movie beats.
Yeah.
We fall into this interesting situation where we've made comments, and Max, you specifically have made comments about the concept of the 10-hour movie, right? And how a lot of TV has decided, what if we were a movie broken up into 10 to 15 episodes? This is the reverse, and it's really, really weird, but I say that. But then we get this amazing bank heist scene, and the action moments of this show are where I'm like, I think I see why this got greenlit.
Totally.
Because there are moments in the show where I was like, both of these people hypothetically should live, but I'm really interested to see how they live through these situations.
Yeah.
I want to hear from you two. The bank heist was one of these just great, heart-pounding, great action sort of thing, but was there an action moment, so that we don't describe every beat of this pilot, that you were like, wow, that action sequence was for me? I think Max and I both know Rich's, but Rich, what is your action sequence?
Well, okay, so I think specifically, like, the two scenes that stick out most in my head, like, are for establishing how crazy Riggs is, and like, but also how talented, and that's what makes that character so compelling. We don't really get a feel of like Murtaugh's expertise, or like he's so good at his job kind of a feeling, until probably near the end. And I really loved the bank robbery, and that just felt like, oh, this guy is like over the moon crazy. It is and that's, you know, maybe it's just like because I relate so little with that character, and just like the complete comfortability with dying that he's going to be like a perfect cop, which would extremely not fly with any police force in the U.S.
Max, what about yourself? As far as the action in this pilot goes, was
Definitely. In this sequence, there's a few just like super key visual moments that I think stick out for me that build that sequence. It's Riggs walking in with this nonchalant attitude holding 3 large pizzas. It's Riggs taking a bank robber's gun and putting it to his own temple and kind of daring him and baiting him to do this. It creates pictures around Riggs that do resonate, and I think that is effective. It builds dramatic tension, it captivates you, it makes you wonder what's going to happen next. And there's also just things that you say, like, I can't relate to this person. I don't think I would do these things in this scenario. And you do want to see how they play out because they're things that you just can't relate to.
Because you know what? We haven't had in such a long time, and this is because of woke Hollywood, we haven't had a rebel cop who plays by his own rules, goddammit. And that's what this country needs.
Not even on Fox's network do we not have a 911, a rebel cop that plays by the beat of their own drum and gets shit done. I mean, as far as the case of the week, Max, you sort of mentioned it. It is a drug situation. There's a man who was a veteran who was murdered. And we go through these beats to sort of see and reveal, Rich, you mentioned it, the idea of how do these two people get things done? What drives them to get things done as well? And also, how much trouble are they willing to get things done? And gentlemen, I know we're not doing Drive to Survive this week, but Rich, I'm
hopping in the chair. I'm doing hot laps of spa. I heard you.
I knew immediately when I saw an IndyCar appear on the screen. I have in big notes, Rich is fully engaged and giving his entire attention to this scene.
You are goddamn right. We're taking this baby down to the Long Beach Grand Prix because we need hot, dirty, nasty speed, and we need a loading dock. So where do you go for that? Long Beach, baby.
I mean, Max, for you, we've grown up when some of the golden age of action, and there's a lot of car chases that I sort of think of as like, oh, this is one of my favorite car chases ever, like the Italian Job. The more modern version of it in this instance with the Mini Coopers is one of my favorite car chases ever. But this was one that I thought was pretty fun considering it was for TV. How engaged were you watching people chase through the streets of Los Angeles and then somehow end up at the IndyCar race?
I mean, anytime you land a car on an active racetrack, you're going to get some brownie points. It is very silly and in a good, captivating way. Like it's one of those things that, like, I think if it happened in a movie, I'd be kind of like, this is weird. But because it happened on network TV on Fox, I'm like, yeah, there's a car chase on an IndyCar circuit. Yeah. Let's go. Yes, we are flipping like Dodge Challengers while this song called Payback by Vo Williams is blasting in the background. Just some like real generic 2010s hype rap song. It's going on my gym playlist, I can tell you that much. This show, though, then makes a really weird choice, which is we comedically kill one of the bad guys in the same way that we tragically killed Rick's wife in the beginning of this pilot. And
there's one lesson to learn from Lethal Weapon. It's that sometimes car crashes are good.
This show is
hysterical.
This show has an insane amount of vehicular manslaughter, and it's used for wildly different emotional effects on our audience.
I mean, one of the things, and Max, you sort of bring it up, is the comedy of this show is they try to take a lot of different swings rather than one consistent thing that's always funny, right? Like they're not like, oh, the characters are the only funny thing. In some situations, it's how people die is really funny, or it's like the situation itself or the crime itself feels like how they do it. I do want to give credit to a returning TVPL actor by the name of Kevin Rahm.
Oh, yeah.
Who you two might recognize from Desperate Housewives. And he plays the chief, Brooks Avery. And I thought it was perfect. You needed that straight man to play against these two absolute like chaotic human beings in your department.
I was going to go late season Mad Men. He came out as the captain. I'm like, Ted.
That's right. Also Scrubs. He was on Scrubs for a long time.
Yeah. Like I think that the choice is having such variety in the way that you're delivering comedy is such an interesting way to keep your audience engaged, because you have no. This is a show where I can genuinely tell you, you could try to guess what happens next. You're not going to, and I'm going to give you 1,000 tries to guess it. Speaking of guessing what's next, what did you guys think of that Riggs inviting himself over for dinner and having one of the most just awkward oof moments that I've seen in a little bit? Not to mention establishing reasons of why you should be living in California according to Riggs.
The best reason to live in California, apparently, for Riggs is high quality weed, baby. Nothing better.
He's not wrong.
It's true. It took me an hour to get home today, so yeah, the weed's the best thing.
I guess one of the things I'm curious about is we get all this exposition on Riggs at the beginning, and then they almost use this scene to try to like remind us of everything that's going on with Riggs with like a little bit of a reveal of what's happening with Murtaugh.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's effective at all, or are you more like, ooh, why did we have Daymon Wayans become the bad guy?
No, it's effective for me because at some point in any good pilot that have, these people who are adversaries that we don't have to come together, there has to be that moment where like we kind of cross over to that new territory, that moment where the relationship changes. There's some reveal that makes these two people want to come together. And this is where it happens. We've had this moment where they're taken off the case by their captain, who is dressed very formally. People are always going to banquets and things like this, and they reprimand people. They're always like, I have to go to a banquet. Give me your badge and your gun. But yeah, you need a scene like this where we get that second thing. It can't just be Riggs is a madman the entire episode. That's not sustainable for 18 episodes of a season. So yeah, we need to have, the Murtaugh family get their hearts broken a little bit. They have to learn something about him. We have to evolve these characters. And I think the dinner does it effectively.
Yeah. The, to your point, Max, Riggs doesn't have like a real like hero's journey throughout this. Murtaugh does. And there is, because if you're going to establish that Murtaugh is doing stuff that has been medically advised against, stuff that his family doesn't want him to do, if you're going to really put him through the ringer, you got to like make it crystal clear why he's doing this. And you kind of almost don't get that until like the last like 15% of the script, which is fascinating.
Well, let's talk about that last 15% of the script, right? Because we figure out who our murderer is, and then we add in, let's up the stakes with a child being kidnapped and then being held at gunpoint, and Riggs deciding, I got this all by myself. And I think one of the things that we haven't mentioned throughout this is the idea of the death wish, right? And that is Riggs' driving force of like, if I happen to die, okay, like that.
Right.
That's sort of how his behavior is. And in this moment where he literally says, I'll take out as many of you as I can.
It is an insane pilot choice for this two-hander. For the leads is Watts. The thing we follow for 47 minutes is one guy's got a death wish and one guy wants a blowjob, and we follow that for an hour of network TV.
Hey, it's better than watching Deadpool, because that's the same guy in that show.
Ryan Reynolds, come on the pod. But I mean, Rich, you sort of mentioned it. This is the scene where we see Murtaugh take that hero's journey, and it's really the last 4 minutes maybe of this pilot. But
oh, buddy, you knew he was coming through that giant window. You knew it. You could smell every single chess move in this script. You can see coming from a mile away. It's like Gary Kasparov playing an 11-year-old in chess. It's it's crazy. Every single, like, I almost, like, if you just showed me pictures from this pilot, I almost could have written this whole script.
But I guess what I'm asking is, you see this car go through a window. You see this amazing situation where we have a standoff, where we have a man with a sniper rifle training in on our two heroes, and a child, nonetheless. do you leave it convinced that, hey, these are two heroes that I'll be following week to week? Or do you leave it being like, oh, they got lucky?
First off, when Murtaugh and Riggs were hiding behind those crates and Murtaugh goes, Riggs, I only have one shot, I audibly groaned. I was like, oh, of course you only have one shot.
I love how jaded we just got in the last 5 minutes.
Why would you have more bullets? Why would you have more than one bullet? You wouldn't.
He's not even supposed to have that gun, Max.
I think that for what the pilot is doing, we see them come together. We see them meet in the middle. We see Murtaugh show bravery and Riggs being willing to work with a partner. And it sets up that this duo will be able to have many more capers in episodes to come. Mm-hmm. So as far as what it wants to do, it is effective. This whole sequence, though, does also suffer from background music that I want to call Friday Night Lights core, which is like, we really wanted to get explosions in the sky, but we couldn't afford explosions in the sky. So we just put some like twinkly guitars while people walk around dramatically.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys catch it all? The dramatic music, the dramatics things that they use is the score from Moneyball.
No, that's amazing.
All the dramatic stings were, I don't remember which came first. I think this might have come first before Moneyball. No?
Okay, so we can't have an original soundtrack, but we could build it in the aggregate.
Well, okay, so at the absolute end of this pilot, you get that, like, here's like a trope of like action movies of just like when all the action is done, when they save the town and everything, and they're finally like reuniting at like the hospital, and one of them's got like bandages on and stuff like that. He's really beat up. And it's like, oh, you're gonna get the Medal of Valor for this, dude. But you have to do this in a TV show now, so they got to do this again next week. Are you out of your goddamn mind? This is crazy.
I mean,
when is Jack Bauer gonna shit?
I mean, for every eye that we...
Sorry.
It's the question we ask every week if you're just joining us for the first time.
This is Rich's question of the week.
We could be watching something completely unrelated to Jack Bauer, and Rich is just like, when's Jack Bauer pooping? So, I mean, for every high that this pilot has, for every intense moment, it feels like it almost requires itself to then bring it back to another low and to bring it back to an emotional perspective as well. Because we have two scenes almost back to back that set that tone. One being Riggs coming back to the Murtaugh family to see how they're doing after we're promised a blowjob and we never see it, which is so upsetting. Don't do that.
Chekhov's dome. Episode 3, we gotta see it.
But the other part is we get this big reveal that the reason that Riggs is in L.A. was because his late wife, her father, was on the city council, and he helped get Riggs this job in which was a touching moment. Which, I never thought in a show that we would comedically kill someone with the bus. I'd be like, wow, I was touched by the idea of someone else's ashes being returned in this instance.
Well, Jeff, not all car accidents are good. That's what this whole show is about.
I mean, that really is our pilot, and I'm curious for the two of you. We've talked about it a lot, but were there any things that you loved that maybe you'd like to discuss in more depth?
I mean, we didn't talk about the MVP of this entire pilot. That's Carl Tart as nameless station officer who tells Murtaugh there's a bank robbery and welcome back.
Oh my God.
It's my absolute dog. Let's go.
Rich, what about you?
For me, just explosions, dude. This is some pretty fucking great action. I'm really overwhelmed that they did this for a TV show. This feels like big blockbuster movie for sure. I am super impressed with the action for this.
Yeah, the action in this show is insane for television. Yeah. And like this is something where I was just like, I can't look away from the screen because for all I know, a shark's going to come out of nowhere and bite off Riggs's leg. Like, and I need to see that live.
Everything's on the table.
Let's talk a little bit about wait a minute moments, and I'm going to start us off. Did either of you gentlemen notice that Riggs suddenly, after the death of his wife, lost his Texas accent that he had in the first scene of this show because someone made a choice that they were from El Paso forever. And then they decided 6 months is plenty of time to really just lose that Southern drawl and that Texas drawl and become a full California baby boy. So yeah, that I literally had in my notes. He code switched. And that is inappropriate, and that's not okay. So I'm curious for you two. What were wait a minute moments for you?
When they go back, when they do a scene in the past where his accent is thicker, it's called a yallback.
If they don't, I'm gonna write a letter. I'm writing a letter to.
I don't think you could legally say it's old El Paso.
Rich, what about you?
There is a moment where Riggs says he's drinking Jonathan Daniels whiskey to imply whiskey. Jack is not short for Jonathan, so what are we doing here? Wait, is it?
I don't know.
What is Jonathan Daniels? Did they just like not? Were they just like, I don't know? We'll probably get sued for that. Can't say
Jack
that.
Daniels, get in the comments. Tell us what.
Hey,
tell
Rich,
us if you
when
go by
you're
Jonathan.
when you're at the liquor store and you're looking at the whiskeys, look lower.
Wait, well, I'm 30. I'm 34. I can't bend down that low. Well, wait. Okay, that is the full name for someone named Jack. Anyways, okay, never mind.
Well, Max, what about you? Wait a minute.
So
minute
when
moment for
when
you.
the Murtaughs are having dinner, when Riggs is over there, and the baby is crying and wakes up, put that baby back to bed. She wakes up in the middle of the night, and you turn on all of the lights in her nursery and start playing with a squeaky toy. No. This is not playtime. This is sleep time. Go to bed. Also, those thin-ass curtains letting in all that light in that baby's bedroom, invest in some blackout curtains, Murtaugh. Your wife is a lawyer. Buy blackout curtains. They're so cheap. What are you doing, dude? Let that poor baby sleep.
And that was wait a minute moment sponsored by Babies R Us. Babies R Us. You can get baby stuff from Babies R Us. We do
And
have
blackout curtains. Who knows what's
Yeah.
going on in there?
We do have one more question, and that is an in-flight question. Our in-flight question this week came from Lauren on Instagram. And Lauren asked, what is the minimum age to start insisting you're too old for this shit? And I'm going to just tell you
28.
both. Rich, tell us more about why 28 is the age.
Look, if that's the age where it's respectable to retire from professional tennis, then you're too old for stuff.
I mean, that's a solid answer.
Thank
Max,
you so
what
much.
about you? How old is too old?
So I think too old for this shit comes in at 45. I
Oh.
think that in this current day and age, like, you know, your 30s, you're still this vibrant person. You can still be figuring yourself out. You could be making changes. And then, like, you know, your early 40s, you're basically still in your 30s. 45 is now where you're closer to 50 than to your 30s. And I think you are officially too old for this shit.
18, you are too old for certain things. And that should be just said.
You want to elaborate?
Nope, that's it.
Future Jeff, please don't edit this clip out.
I'm changing my wait a minute moment to just now.
Wait,
well,
2
thank
minutes.
you so much, Lord, for that in-flight question. We'll talk a little bit more at the end of the episode of how you can submit those. But let's talk a little bit about the history of the show. This show had 3 seasons and 55 episodes. Max made a reference to some history and some information of what happened. So in May of 2018, there were reports of incidents of hostility between the cast and crew, as well as bad behavior done by Clayne Crawford, who played Riggs in this show. And Clayne was then fired from this show, resulting in the character of Martin Riggs, even though he lived in every movie and some may say represented a Jesus Christ character. Well, Jesus died as well, and they decided to take that choice in this show. Instead, they then cast Sean William Scott, yes, of the American Pie movies,
My dog.
to replace him as a new character that never appeared in the movies named Wesley Cole. And he was only in the 3rd season of that show. It should be noted that it was so bad that even if they had a plan for season 4, Daymon Wayans said, I'm out.
Oh shit! So they knew while filming. That's crazy.
Like he filmed the 15th episode of the 3rd season and was just like, "All right, I'm out of here," and just left the production entirely.
That's a man with some good instincts.
This show did have DVDs for every single season, in case you're curious. Interestingly, this show actually had really good ratings.
I saw an 89 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, for season 1, it topped off at number 35 with an average of 6 million viewers per episode, which is really solid for the 2010s. It dropped off of a cliff and halved in its 2nd season, went down to 90, and then it was the 78th ranked television show in season 3. And surprise, let's talk about awards. This show has 6 nominations, 5 of which were for surfboards, and there are 0 surfboards appearing on anyone's homes, which is super duper sad. But that is the history of Lethal Weapon, the TV show. Rich, it is time for your game of the week.
All right, so as you know, I picked an extremely on-topic question of the week, and it's going to be no different for the game of the week. Unfortunately, earlier this week we lost legendary Iceman, Huckleberry, Doc Holliday, Val Kilmer, and I did a little bit of research on some Val Kilmer trivia, and a pretty amazing career, I'd say. But Val Kilmer, an actor showing promise from the very beginning, he was the youngest person ever accepted to which drama program? A, Yale, B, Juilliard, C, New York University, D, University of Southern California.
B, Juilliard.
You knew this offhand. All right, hell yeah. Is this like a normal thing that people know about Val Kilmer? Do I just not know anything about Val Kilmer?
I'm your Huckleberry.
Okay, and Max will probably get this one immediately too. Val Kilmer's illustrious voiceover career peaked when he became the voice of A, a recurring rival dog on Family Guy, B, a caveman in the Geico ads, C, a pet rock in Toy Story 3, D, the talking car Kit in Knight Rider.
Ooh, I don't know this one about Val Kilmer. I'm gonna
go ahead, Max.
I'm gonna say A, a rival dog on Family Guy.
What you got, Jeff?
See, I thought you were going to bring up Planes, the Pixar movie, because he was a voice on that, which is
I have never seen Planes.
Yeah, no one has seen Planes, so like don't Disney get at me. But yeah, I'll go with Knight Rider. He was the voice of Knight Rider.
He was the voice of Kit in the reboot of Knight Rider in 2008. But that's my Val Kilmer trivia. R.I.P. Big guy.
Well, Rich, thank you so much for that timely game of the week. Gentlemen, our flight is coming to a land, and hopefully we will be able to land it without any buses or explosions nearby. But I do have 2 questions for you, and the first one is, what do you think of this pilot? Would you watch more of this show? Would you give it an episode 2? They gave us a pretty good idea that these 2 are going to be partners, even if they do have their differences. And the second question is IPs turned into TV. It seems like something that is still going on. Karate Kid is coming up on, I think, its 7th season and its final season now
Cobra
on
Kai.
Netflix. Yeah, Cobra Kai. So, I mean, there's definitely some form of nostalgia associated with it. And if you can get a younger audience, boy, are they going to buy those DVDs and Blu-rays to watch your movies. So is there a place for that sort of TV in our current day? Rich, I'm going to start with you.
I'm kind of in favor of anything that gets people working right now. There are so many people out of work in Hollywood in general. I'm just kind of like, yeah, greenlight Candyland the movie, greenlight Connect 4 the movie. But in terms of watching more of this pilot or watching more of this show, I'm going to say yes, just because I like when the things go boom. And I think they did a good job making the things go boom. What do you think, Max?
Look, man, when you've got things in your script like we don't want any damn pizza, we want a chopper, you're trying really hard to bait me. But I'm not taking your bait. I am out on Lethal Weapon. This was enough for me. It was a lot of sizzle. I didn't get enough steak. I'm going to pass on watching more of this. As for the IP question, I mean, one of the buzziest shows of last year was Presumed Innocent on Apple TV with Jake Gyllenhaal, a remake of the Harrison Ford movie. This is not going to stop. We've made all of the TV shows into movies. We made all the movies into musicals. Now we need to start making them back into TV shows. It's the circle of life. I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. And you're going to take the good with the bad. You're going to get some hits. You're going to get some duds. But they're going to keep on cranking the slot machine as long as they can.
Yeah, spin that wheel, baby.
Give me that good, smooth brain TV for me. Yes, me, with explosions and drugs and blowjobs galore. Give it to me. Let me have a show where I can just drink a beer and imaginary cheers rings the entire time, because holy shit.
You're looking at the writer's room for Fast and Furious, the TV show now.
It's interesting you bring this up, because one of the things that I researched when I saw this show is I sort of wrote down on a notepad, what are the movies of the 80s and 90s that I sort of consider in the same family, and have they made them or attempted to make them into TV shows? And the answer is yes. Every single one that you could think of. Rush Hour had a TV show. Beverly Hills Cop also had a TV show.
Yep.
And just had a new movie with Eddie Murphy that I actually do recommend you watch.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I loved it. I think it was great. Very different than the originals, and
Can
much
I
better
on
than
that
the
give you like a
third.
weird bit of like action movie lore though from this show?
Yeah.
The bus that kills that drug dealer, that's the bus from Speed.
God damn it.
But I think that there is something to be said about how successful this show was. They found some form of magic by getting 55 episodes when those other ones did not. They very much fell flat because they were not able to find the right tone. So if you are able to make IP that is a good ode to the original, but then is able to expand on it, sort of like what Cobra Kai did, or maybe The Mandalorian as another really good example of that, go for it. But if you are just the entire time sort of just being like, ooh, did you see that little thing? And like, what a fun thing that we did. Oh my God, he said we're getting too old for that shit. Then like, stop. Don't do that anymore. Like, I want everyone to have a job, but I also want everyone to be a little bit proud of what they're making as well. Well, gentlemen, that is our flight. We did successfully land. It turns out Riggs was not flying the plane. But before we go, I want to make sure that folks can find you wherever you are. Rich, where can folks find you?
You can find me posting on my Justice for Sean William Scott Facebook page. Cast him and more stuff, Hollywood. And you can also find me on Instagram at Damn That's Rich. You can find original sketch comedy for Max and myself over on TikTok at Dadwagon Comedy.
Max?
You can find me eating bank pizza and on all things social media at Maxwell Singh.
And you can find me watching out for buses and checking both ways before I cross the street, because no one in this pilot did. But if you're looking for me on social media, you can find me at RunJeffRun. You can find the TV Pilot's License anywhere you listen to podcasts, as well as watch our smiling faces on YouTube and find us on nearly all available social media platforms. If you're looking to give us an in-flight question or maybe a question for our next episode, you can submit those at tvpilotslicense.com or give us a call or leave us a text message at 213-290-1713. Make sure to watch out for sneak previews of some of the stuff that we have coming up. But with the seatbelt sign off and the plane landed, we look forward to flying the bright skies of the TV world with you soon. Until next time.
Wait, do we all still have it? Do we all still have our use?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
I'm getting too old
for this shit.